Everyone, this is Nita Marie here. Welcome to my channel. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss anything. I have a new series coming out called Bikini Babe Interviews, where I interview other top OnlyFans models and you find out a little bit about their story, what they did before OnlyFans, and where they see themselves a few years from now. So you're going to definitely want to tune in today. I'm interviewing Melissa and Electra Rayne. They both used to be strippers before OnlyFans, and you're going to love their story. So can't wait to have you meet them. So I'm so excited to have Serenity as my first guest on Bikini Babes Talk Show with Nita Marie. And we're here talking about OnlyFans models who've really overcome a lot of obstacles and have received a lot of great things as a result of OnlyFans. And Serenity has an amazing story, and I'm going to ask her a few questions, but she used to be a stripper. And she started her OnlyFans so that she could get out of that. And surprisingly, she's been able to replace most of her income and stay at home with her autistic son, which is such a blessing because I'm sure your son loves having you at home. Is that right, Serenity?
Yeah. Yeah. It's allowed me to help him with his obstacles. So yeah, it's definitely a blessing.
How long have you been able to be at home with him?
Since March 2020. First, when it first hit the COVID, so I was able to stop right away. And one of my friends suggested that I start an OnlyFans account. And at first, it was very rough, but I trusted the process, and I was able to pay off a very large debt. So that was very helpful and very cool that I was able to do that at home. So
yes, that's great. And what do you like about doing your OnlyFans business instead of stripping?
Well, it's less interactive, like physically, right? So I wouldn't have very aggressive people at me anymore. There was, sometimes the clubs are pretty rowdy, right? So, and, being a mom now, you have to worry about things like that. So it's definitely a lot safer at home.
Yeah. So you feel safer being at home, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm still able to interact with the men and the women out there. And so it's still fun, but safer.
And you make quite a bit more money then too, right?
Yes. I've doubled my income easily with OnlyFans. So I think it was a better route for me, career-wise anyway. So, and you could do it for a long time, so.
Yeah, you could do it as long as you want.
Exactly. With the strip club, you get to a certain age and everybody's questioning why you're still here. And I'm kind of creeping up there. So, I've been in 2010. So it's time for me to find a different avenue.
Would you consider yourself in the MILF category?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So is that what most of your fans like who join your page?
They like that I'm a MILF and that I'm so petite. There's and then I'm pretty kinky. So my doors are pretty open that way. So hardly any limits with me.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's super fun. So I know you are not a single mom, so you do have a partner. Is he pretty supportive of your business?
Yes. And he also features. So
okay.
Yeah.
So he has to become something you do together.
Yeah. And he has his own account as well that he runs as a couples account. So that's definitely a fun thing that opened up for us as well. So yeah, he's very supportive.
Yeah, I would think that it would be like an even better thing for you guys because you're able to do it together. Where at the club, oftentimes you were just going out and maybe, you know, he didn't get to be a part of that. And so now you guys get to do it together. So I'm sure it's even better for your relationship.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely brought us a lot closer that way. And he prefers it too, because like, you know, like you said, like he joins in the fun. There's a lot of people that, you know, on either account that request couple stuff and, you know, to play around with him as well. So that's, you know, interesting to see.
Yeah, that's great. So how many fans are you up to now on your page?
Well, I have, like I said, a few pages. So, I did change my price. So it went down a little bit. And I took a break. So now I'm back up and ready to go. So now I have about 300.
Okay.
One, and then I have 400 and something on the couples account, and then the free account, well, that's like 15K.
So. Yeah, because it's free. So where can people find you?
At onlyfans.com, Melissa Rayne, Melisssereni.
Okay, and of course we'll put that on the bottom of the screen as well. Do you have a social media too?
Yeah, I have an Instagram. It's SS Serenity 666. So
okay.
SS.
So just a double S and then Serenity. So it's like 3 S's in a row.
Yes. And then, yeah, it's, 2 S's and says Serenity 666.
Okay, great. So if someone's watching and maybe they're a stripper and they thought about starting an OnlyFans business, what advice would you give them?
Look into it. Try and find a friend that you know that's on there to help you and guide you a little bit. I did it by myself and I found it was very difficult until I found some people that were willing to help me just navigate it. And, you know, so I would suggest, you know, find someone that could help you a little bit and don't get discouraged for the first little bit because, you know, just trust the process.
But, yeah, because you've been doing it for now about 2 years.
Yeah.
And how much money would you say you make on OnlyFans right now, on average, to give an exact number?
Right now, I'm making about 3,000 American a month.
Great.
Like I said, like I took a lot of break, but before that, I was 5,000 a month.
Yeah.
So on one page. So it was really good. But like I said, I took a break for a while. So now I'm making about 3,000 a month.
And isn't that great? You can do that and still be at home and be with your son and have those breaks and then get back to it and feel, you know, safe about everything you're doing and still enjoy it. So
exactly.
That's awesome.
Oh, I love it.
So are you in a different country?
I'm in Canada.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I heard a little bit of an accent. So
yeah, I'm in Ontario, Canada.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was awesome to hear your story. I mean, obviously, such a blessing that you're able to be at home with your son. I'm sure he enjoys it. Sounds like it's a great move for you and your partner. So I just wish you all the best, and hopefully fans will go out and find you at Melissa Rayne. So we have the link at the bottom, and thank you for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so here we are with the amazing Electra Rain, and I'm so excited to talk to her because she is someone who used to be a stripper, but then got into a lot of debt because of several surgeries that she had. And so she wasn't able to strip anymore, and she had to come up with something to not only replace her income, but also get out of medical debt. And so that's what inspired her to start OnlyFans. So welcome, Electra.
Thank you. It's really good to be here.
Yeah. So when did you start your OnlyFans business?
I started mine in March 2020 with the pandemic, just like a lot of other people did.
Yep. That was the explosion. So did you
Yes, it
start
totally was.
Yeah, it was. Did you start OnlyFans because you needed the money from the surgeries or because of the pandemic?
Both. So I had a day job, like a regular, normal, not sexy at all job. But I had my 3 surgeries in 2019 and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to dance like as a career anymore. And so then I had all this medical debt and I was like, oh man, like I really think I need to go back to the strip club. So my doctor wrote me a medical note that exempted me from like stage and like a bunch of other things. And I was going to try going back with like all these restrictions. And I'm like, okay, like this still feels not great for my health. And I don't even know if I can be successful with all of these restrictions. And I was back for less than 1 week with my restrictions. And then the pandemic happened. And I'm like, oh shit,
gosh.
like, well, now I don't even have that option. I didn't even know if it was going to work and I don't even have that. So what do? I need to get rid of this medical debt. And that is when I hopped on the OnlyFans train.
Yes. It was like perfect timing, right? Like right when everything was coming up and exploding and all that stuff.
Yes,
so,
thank goodness.
Yes. So have you paid off your medical debt as a result of it?
Yeah, actually, I'm really proud to say that within 6 months of starting my OnlyFans, not only had I completely paid off my medical debt and built like a little bit of a savings account for the first time in my life, I was able to attain like one of my childhood dreams and I bought a horse. Which is something that like I never thought I'd be able to do. Like I had pretty much given up on the idea of having my own horse. I was like, it sounds expensive and like a lot of work. Like as long as I can ride horses, sometimes I'm happy. And then in August of 2020, my girlfriend and I went to a horse campground. I hadn't even touched a horse for 2 years because of my health. When we went like just to get away for a weekend, like it was still like really deep in the pandemic, but they had separate individual cabins like out in the middle of nowhere. And when you're on a horse trail ride, you're automatically social distance. So we're like, we'll just rent a pair of horses for the weekend. And we got there and they're like, this is Mo. He's your horse for the weekend. He's actually for sale. And I'm like, that's great. Like I'm not looking for a horse. Oh my God, but he was like the most magnificent horse that's ever existed. And so by the end of the weekend, I was head over heels in love. And I just knew like if he wasn't for sale, it would have been okay. I would have just gone back and rented him all the time. But since he was for sale, someone else was going to buy him and I'd never see him again. And I couldn't have that happen. So now he's my baby.
I love that. That's such a great story. Because I know you said you've been able to take time to rehabilitate him and take care of him. And
so I actually... Yes. So in March of last year, so almost a year ago, and about a year after starting my OnlyFans, I actually ended up quitting my day job. I incorporated as a business. I started taking some mainstream porn bookings, which is also something I had always wanted to do since I was little. And as a result, I was able to just completely quit my day job. And so now I have full control over my schedule. So like not only do I have a lot more financial freedom, I also just have like time and control over my own life. And so, he was really, really thin and malnourished when I got him. He had dental problems, but they didn't know that was what was causing the problem. They thought he was overworked. So they moved him from the campground to the campground owner's house and just like threw him in a field for 2 months.
Wow.
And they're like, cool, he'll eat and he'll gain weight. But actually he had dental problems, so he couldn't eat. So he was just getting skinnier and skinnier. So when I got him, we got his teeth fixed, but he was a body score of 2. A healthy body score for a horse is a 5. So 2 is not good. And he had foot problems from poor nutrition and all kinds of things. So it was really like this big project to rehab him. And like, I'm a first-time horse owner. I'm a long-time rider, but a first-time owner. So I had to learn a lot. And I'm really proud to say that like within a year of him becoming mine, we started competing in a sport called endurance. And now we like regularly place top 10 and he's doing really, really well. And I'm extremely proud of him.
Wow, that's great. I love that. So obviously you have the money to not only buy him, but also take care of him well, to board him, to be able to...
He is a spoiled princess horse.
Yes. So be treated the way he should be treated. So I'm a big animal lover too. And so I love that because wouldn't you agree that the more money we have and the more time we have, the more we can invest in things like this, like our kids or our
Absolutely.
animals or those things that are important to us. So that's
Absolutely.
wonderful. Yeah. So you said that even growing up, you always wanted to do mainstream porn. Is sex work something that you always wanted to do?
Kinda, yeah. It's not, I grew up with really bad self-esteem. Like I hated my body. I thought I was like the ugliest, grossest person ever. But I had stumbled upon kink.com at a like pretty young age by accident. A friend and I thought it would be funny to go to boobs.com. We're like, oh, like what's it? Boobs.com. That's so silly. And at the time it was a directory of porn sites. I don't think it is anymore. But kink was on the homepage and I'm like, oh, weird. Like that looks a lot like the things I imagine in my head when I do that weird wiggling thing that I'm only just starting to realize might be masturbating, but I'm like really young, so I don't understand any of this yet.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time. I was like, I think there's something wrong with me. Like, do I have a pornography addiction? And like, it's BDSM. So I'm like, oh my God, like, am I a horrible misogynist? I like seeing these women suffer. Like, I don't know. And then I saw one of the exit interviews where the performer's like, hi, like I'm over 18. I'm a model. I got paid. And they talk about like what they did like and what they didn't like and all kinds of things from the shoot. And I'm like, wow, who would want to do a thing like this? Wait a second. I'm someone who would want to do a thing like this. So that might mean that there's other people like me out there. And that moment, I remember it really quickly. It was huge for me in accepting myself sexually, which was huge for accepting myself just like broadly in all parts of my life. And it like really radically changed my sense of self in general. So I always knew I wanted to do porn, but I never for 1 second imagined that I would like be a porn star or like be regularly making porn. It was just kind of like a cross it off my bucket list type of thing. And so I did it in like right when I turned 18, I started applying. When I was 19, I got hired for one like really intense BDSM company. And then I wasn't getting any more work after that. I couldn't get an agent to work with me. So I was like, you know what, that's okay. Like I did porn, I made it happen. Like that's fine. And actually through porn, I met a wonderful woman who was like also in college like me, and she was a dancer and she wrote a lot about her experiences. And so we connected and she's like, you could totally be a dancer. And I'm like, I don't know, like I'm not hot enough for that. Like strippers are the ultimate fantasy, right? And she's like, no, you could totally do it. So she did my makeup. She like put lashes on me for the first time. And I took the train. This was in San Francisco. So I took the train from Oakland downtown and I auditioned at a club and they did not hire me. But I loved it. And so I came back home to Chicago and I was like, wow, like I just started auditioning places till somebody took me. And I love stripping so much. I was like, okay, well, like I checked porn off the list. I'm in college. Like I'm working on being a forensic scientist. I don't need to keep doing porn. I did it. And I kind of like closed the door on that dream, basically. So, and then I was happy as a stripper. I was like, I'm going to strip forever. I love it. And if it wasn't for my health, I probably would have. I do occasionally go in once in a while now, but like very rarely, more just to like feel like I'm still doing it a little because my body just simply cannot handle dancing all the time. I have a connective tissue disorder. So like I cannot be a full-time stripper, but I can like microdose being a stripper a little bit.
Yeah. So what do you love about stripping? It's obviously something that you like.
Yes. I love getting to meet all the different people you get to meet through it. I love the creativity of like coming up with new sales pitches and new ways to try. Cause like fundamentally stripping is a sales job. Like people say to me all the time, they're like, oh, I want to be a stripper. I want to do this, but I can't dance. Or like, I don't know that I'm that attractive. I'm like, no. You don't need to be able to dance at all. You only need to be a little hot. You need to be able to pretend that you're really confident, believably, if you're not authentically confident, and you need to be able to do sales. So that's sort of like I almost think of it as a game. Like the more money I make throughout the night is like my score. And I'm like trying to get a new high score and like what techniques can I use in this game to increase my score. And that's really fun. I also I love the camaraderie with the other dancers. I love that I got to travel all throughout college and dance. For a long time, I was on a mission to dance in all 50 US states. I did not hit it. I got through 9 plus Australia. But that was still so cool. Like in college, anytime I was like, oh yeah, I'm not doing anything for 3 or 4 days. Like, hey friends, you want to go on a road trip? Like that was so cool. So it's just always been, and it radically changed my sense of myself. I was physically active regularly for the first time in my whole life, which was huge for me. And that I don't know, it became this huge part of my identity, and it is something that I really enjoy. And I'm really excited and I'm really grateful that even though that's not something I'm able to do regularly anymore, through OnlyFans, I was still able to keep some of that connection, like that, the network with other creators, the feeling really good about my body, the coming up with new ideas and being creative. Like even through the pandemic, I was able to keep all of that. And then now that things are more opened up and I actually get to like meet more creators and things like that, like it's really cool to still keep sex work as such an important and powerful presence in my life and part of my identity, even though I can't dance anymore regularly.
Yes, that's so awesome. So what would you say you would like to see yourself? Where do you see yourself in 4 or 5 years? Still doing OnlyFans, doing something else?
That's a really good question. I haven't really thought so hard about, I have like short-term plans. I don't necessarily have such a long-term plan.
Yeah.
I think, definitely doing OnlyFans. I would like to be directing a little bit more, like not even necessarily like, okay, I'm hiring other performers and I'm directing them, but doing more, like a lot of my OnlyFans stuff right now is very like either what did customers request or just what do I think like my specific audience would like to see. And it's relatively low budget. Like I have a couple cameras and a couple of lights and it's me and whatever performer wants to split the money. But in 4 or 5 years, I would like to be doing a little bit broader productions. I would like to show, I'm bisexual, I live with my girlfriend. So I would like to show some like more authentic depictions of queer love and queer sex. And I would love to do a series about condoms. Like I know condoms in porn has been done a little, but I actually think condoms are really fun and can be really sexy. And they're so awesome in so many situations. And it bums me out that people don't necessarily feel that way. And I think like, as much as we don't want porn to be sex ed and it's not supposed to be sex ed, because of the way sexuality is so taboo in our country, it kind of is. And so I think by setting these like positive examples, we really like, we can sort of change public perception of like, oh, condoms are gross and shitty, they don't ever use those in porn, to, oh man, I saw this really cool hot porn. Where like, there are stories from my life where like, the condom made all the difference. Like I hooked up with a guy from a band once. I'm not going to give a lot of specifics. But I came up to him after the show and I was like, oh, I'm here to see you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, meet me outside behind the bar. And so we go outside behind the bar and he's thinking, I'm sure, like we're literally just like outside, like in the backyard of this bar. He's thinking, oh man, we're going to make out. Like maybe I'm going to touch boobs. And if I'm lucky, I might get a BJ. And so as we're making out, I'm like, oh, by the way, I have this. And I pulled a condom out of my pocket. And that's all I needed to say, like to communicate, I would like to have sex with you. And if we're going to have sex, I would like to be using protection. And it was this very cool and fun and sexy moment. And I have a bunch of stories like that. And that's so great. To get back to your question, 4 or 5 years down the line, I would like to still be doing what I'm doing. And I would like to have sort of expanded my production to be higher budget, to be able to pay more models instead of like content trade, like, hi, hello, collaborate with me. And I would like to give you money for it. And I would like to be making the porn that I want to see in the world, because I am a longtime porn consumer, but I am not the target audience for most porn.
Yes. No, I think that's great. So making a positive impact with sex ed through porn, which is true because we don't really talk about sex very much in regular, normal, everyday life. So where do people learn is through, porn, and now probably OnlyFans. So to be able to promote healthy, safe sex in porn, I think is great. So that's awesome.
Totally. And when I was saying porn through all that, I don't just mean like mainstream studio productions. I mean porn broadly construed, like all of the explicit adult content that people are consuming, including and especially OnlyFans, because people see it and they're like, oh, it's more casual, it's more amateur, like it's more authentic. And in a lot of cases, that's true. But there are also a lot of people whose pages are just as fantastical as mainstream porn. Like I think of, when I do mainstream, I think of it as stunts. I'm doing stunts for sex. And I love that. And that's really fun, but it's not, in real life, you have to take your socks off and people fart and they have bruises and like, that's totally fine. It's just like, it's not what you're going to see in those big productions.
Right. It's more amateur, which a lot of people like that about OnlyFans, is that it's the more real type thing, for sure. So obviously this is something that you enjoy doing. What would you say to the person that might be skeptical about sex workers, thinking that maybe you're demeaning your body by doing sex work, or that you're, being forced to do it for whatever reason, what would you say to that person?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think it's really important that we acknowledge the distinction between consensual sex work and sex trafficking.
Yeah.
So obviously, if someone is being forced to do something that they don't want to do, that's absolutely horrendous, but that is a separate issue than consensual sex work. Just the same as if someone was being forced to work in a nail salon or a bar or something else, that's a really big problem. But it doesn't mean that nobody should ever work in a nail salon or nobody should ever work in a bar. It's a separate issue relating to the consent and the trafficking that's happening.
Yeah.
But then when you talk about things like demeaning your body or things like that, something I learned through stripping really quickly was that I am going to be objectified for my body no matter what. Since I was a little kid, like I'd go walking somewhere with my dad and I'd be like 12 and guys will whistle or make a comment or a gross expression or face or gesture or whatever. And so through sex work, I have really been able to reclaim power from that. Like, okay, yes, you think I'm hot and I'm sexy and whatever, and you want to try to objectify me, fine, let's do it. But we're going to do it on my terms, and it's going to cost you money, and I'm going to look the way I want. And even more so through OnlyFans, it's even better because you can make the kind of content you want. It's not like a mainstream studio where they're like, we're producing this scene. Do you want to do it or not? And it's either a yes or no. When you're making your own content through OnlyFans, you can decide. You can say like, okay, well, I want to do it this way. And then halfway through be like, I didn't like that. We're going to change it. And when you're doing your own editing or you're hiring your own editor, you can say, I don't like how that looks, change it. And you're very in control of your own image. You're very in control of everything that's being put out there, and you're very in control of how people are perceiving you. And so for me, it has been this really rewarding and validating experience of taking power back from the patriarchal systems that are already in place.
Yes. Awesome. That's great. I agree with that 100%. So that's what I always tell people when they ask me. So it's great to hear that from you. So where can fans find you? What is your OnlyFans?
My OnlyFans is just at Electra Rayne. I know it's very hard to spell. It's ElectraRayne. But then also really easy to remember and spell. My website is just chicagoslut.com. And that has all my and everything that you'll want to find on there.
That's easy. Well, we definitely have your link at the bottom of the screen. Do you also have social media?
Yes. I am at Electra Rain, spelled the same way, for Twitter and TikTok. And on Instagram, I am at Electra from Chicago because my original Instagram was deleted.
Okay. Right. That happens to all of us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm excited about your future. I think you're going to make a really positive impact in sex work. So thank you for just taking the time to be on here today. And I look forward to all of your future endeavors.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you.